Welcome back to my channel, everybody. It's me, your friendly neighborhood sassy blonde writer, coming at you with another writing video. Today we are talking about mysteries. Da-da. The mystery genre is a genre of fiction that follows a crime, usually a murder or a disappearance or a theft or something like that, from the moment it is committed to the moment it is solved. Mystery novels are often called whodunits because they turn the reader into a detective to try to figure out who did it. So you gotta figure out the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how part of crime. Part of the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, my friends and I have recently discovered the world of Clue online. It's been a lot of fun. Then, of course, we had to rewatch the movie, which I think Clue is one of my favorite movies. Flames on the side of my face. Clue is probably one of my favorite board games of all time, probably one of my favorite movies of all time, and mystery genres are definitely up there with my favorite genres of all time. So it just seemed natural for me to do a video about this. So there are about 4 different subgenres of mystery and crime fiction. A lot of times mystery and crime fiction fall into the same categories. They each have their own distinct characteristics. One of the sources that I use for this is Masterclass with Dan Brown. He mainly uses novels for his examples, but I'm of course going to use movies and TV shows, of course some video games as well. I'd just like to say I have not taken his masterclass, but I did find some of these definitions on his masterclass website, so that I just wanted to inform that I haven't taken his masterclass. Each of these different genres kind of has their own different tropes within its own type of genre. I'm gonna go into that in their own separate videos because I find them really interesting. These are the 4 main ones. Of course you have, the overlapping genres where you have gothic stories. Usually there are mysteries tied in with gothic tales. You also have thrillers as well, which I'll do a video on in the future. But mysteries on their own are a separate type of genre, but there's just usually a lot of overlap as well. Subgenre number 1 is, of course, detective novels. These are the crime novels that center around a detective. The detective can be anybody, a professional detective like someone from Agatha Christie, like Hercule Poirot is a professional detective. It can be an amateur detective or it can be a retired detective as well, investigating a crime or solving a murder. So a lot of times detective novels usually start with how the detective becomes involved in the case, which is kind of fun from a story perspective. For example, with Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is just kind of chilling at home. Him and Watson are just hanging out. Maybe Sherlock's playing the violin or whatever. Then all of a sudden somebody knocks on the door because they need Sherlock and Watson to investigate something mysterious that happened. And then that's when you finally get the background of everything that's going on. So that's when the story really begins. So the inciting incident of a detective story is when the detectives are made aware of the crime that's happened and have to start solving it. So, obvious examples are obvious with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's example of Sherlock Holmes, and then, like I said before, Agatha Christie's many novels with Miss Marple and Hercule Poirot. And then Number None is a mystery. However, it's not a detective novel. I wouldn't call it a cozy mystery either. I call it more of a thriller. And more on Agatha Christie in my video about Agatha Christie that I will link to in the cards and down below. There are other examples of that as well. We are going to be focusing on Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes because those are the ones I'm more familiar with. A lot of times detective novels, there's a lot of intrigue going on. There's intrigue, like profanity, there's violence, sometimes there's something scandalous going on. And then you have cozy mysteries. Cozy mysteries are kind of the more prim and proper sister to detective novels, where cozy mysteries tend to be the more sanitized version. So when I think of cozy mysteries, I tend to think of Nancy Drew. However, you could characterize some Agatha Christie. Some people consider her a cozy mystery novelist. I don't, because I personally have never read an Agatha Christie novel and felt cozy. But okay. Another example of a cozy mystery, I think the best examples are probably the Nancy Drew stories. Like pretty much anything involving Nancy Drew, the video game, movie from the 2005 or something, I forget. You can also think like Scooby-Doo is also a very good example of a cozy mystery because, I mean, think about it. There's nothing particularly scandalous going on in a Scooby-Doo movie. There is crime, there's weird happenings, but there's nothing particularly scandalous. There's definitely no profanity. There's definitely no violence. But you're kind of, you think about it. You're curled up on the couch, you're nice and cozy, and you're trying to figure out who done it. Trying to solve the mystery along with Velma and the gang. But when I think of cozy mysteries, I think of those. An example of an author tube would be T.A. Woods. She is a cozy mystery writer extraordinaire. Another example of a mystery story would be the police procedural. Now, of course, when we think of police procedural, CSI, NCIS, Bones, Law and Order, pretty much any police procedural TV shows. So police procedural shows, obviously, those are mystery novels featuring a protagonist that is a member of the police force or criminal justice system. Don't forget about that. They really lend themselves to TV shows because they are so formulaic. Crime is committed, police are called, the detective, who's the main person in the story, investigates, then the whole criminal justice system is involved. Sometimes there is overlap with legal dramas as well, like Law and Order. A lot of times people like to bring in elements from police procedurals into legal dramas because it adds a layer of mystery to legal dramas where it's just like district attorneys can't just, get this person off because they're not guilty. You also gotta find out who did it. And I'm not a lawyer and this isn't legal advice, but that's not always what happens in real life. Fun fact about that. Well-known police procedural novelists, of course, are P.D. James. I think I mentioned her a couple of videos ago with the fan fiction novelist Death Comes to Pemberley, where her police procedural chops came out, where she turned Pride and Prejudice into a police procedural. That was a wild ride. And last but certainly not least, the last subgenre of mysteries that we're going to talk about for right now is caper stories. So these are mysteries that are told from the point of view of the criminals rather than the detectives trying to catch them. So they take readers inside the crimes and the heists and give them full access to their motives, the tracks, and the swindles. Unlike most mysteries, the caper stories often include elements of humor as well. So one example of that heist movie is Ocean's 11, or any of the ocean number movies, where we know that they're going to rob the casino, and we know what they're going to do. But we're still gonna watch because it's interesting looking from the point of view of the people who are going to get robbed, trying to get justice, or the detective trying to figure out what happened. We're watching from the point of view of the criminals, and we know their motivations. We know, like, they're trying to save their family or whatever. That is the caper story. Now, of course, with every genre comes tropes of that genre. I hope you enjoyed this video on the mystery genre. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos on Wednesdays. And of course, happy mystery writing.